Chakki did not have consistent performance throughout the year, but when he's active in the tournament scene, he's definitely one of the biggest threats that's out there.
And here is the separating factor between Chakki and RDU. It's the Paladin and the Druid. Aggro Druid, a deck that is pretty good at actually fighting other aggro decks if it's able to get that living mana out or even buff the board. But we also see that Chakki's got that Murloc aggressive Paladin. How do you think that's going to shape up in this matchup?
Well, it's been quite an interesting deck. I think a lot of players have been touting this as sort of the breakout deck of the tournament, where it's a mixture of Aggro Paladin and the Murloc Paladin, where you take just the best of both of those worlds and hope to get the job done. But you said it right at the start, with Aggro Druid being a deck that fights very well versus other aggro decks. That's exactly what it is. So Chakki's going to win this match. He's got to take the board early and then find a way to take advantage of the damage that he can acquire as a result.
Well, Chan Raven certainly already throws a big wrench into things. Murloc Tidecaller can't come down safely. Chakki can save it for a turn 2 play with the Rockpool Hunter. But then he goes off curve. He goes to the Direwolf Alpha, which then floats 1 mana going to his Blessing of Kings turn, which will be really crucial. If he can stick a Blessing of Kings and control the state of the board early enough, that could change it up. And, of course, because of the nature of buffs and Mark of Yasharaj, it is ill-advised to coin anything out this early on.
Yeah, that's really one of the hardest things that to do against this deck is play around Mark of Yasharaj, because you don't get any information about whether or not it exists until you've already tested the water. So playing into it is just strictly more of a percentage play than is anything else. So if Chakki had chosen, say Coin Direwolf Alpha or Rockpool Hunter in that situation, it would have been immediately punished. But there's no way for him to really avoid that situation, trying to find a turn to just get multiple threats online at the same time.
And this delicate balance is already kind of snowballing out of control. It's only turn 2, but I almost feel like this could be the beginning of the end.
Yeah, I mean, Chakki really needs to draw a 1-drop on this following turn, and not patches. Pretty much anything else is going to help him start to fight in this board position. As RDU draws second Savage Roar, so there's a lot of damage available for him over the next couple turns, but this is a board fight for, I'd say, the first 4-5 turns of the game.
How do we feel about using one of those Savage Roars in this position?
I don't really mind it because his trades are lining up pretty well. The Firefly picks up the Dire Mole. Is that what that card's called?
Yeah.
The 1/3 on the right side. He gets a trade up into the Murloc, and the Enchanted Raven sticks around. So I think it's quite powerful. But I'm really looking at Mark of Yasharaj. That leaves something behind on board, though.
Yeah, but then if you mark a Yasharaj, you'd either have to double trade or remove your opponent's Murlocs, which leaves you behind. Oh, sorry, not behind. Not as further ahead as you'd like. And then your board state's not nearly as good, and you're stuck with 2 Savage Roars in your hand. Yeah. I kind of like this, using the Savage Roar in this spot.
I think it's just the best use he's going to get out of the health of his minions. Is, once again, trying to restrict that board presence and get ahead. And so we saw Chakki throw away a weapon in the Mulligan. It's because the early game minions are so important. They'd be great right here, but doesn't really have much of an option.
Now this is where Marky Yasharaj, I think, is nutty. You just look at the Murloc War Leader as the best play here available for Chakki. And it doesn't matter what he plays, it's just going to get eaten directly by that buff. And that card draw is paramount, because the closer RDU gets to living mana, the closer he is to securing this game.
Yeah, and try to think of like a bad draw on RDU's deck right now.
Patches.
That's about it. And outside of that, everything else is gas until Chakki is able to stifle this assault. And since we're nowhere near stifling that assault, he's forced to simply just put as much on the board as he can and hope that RDU doesn't have an answer for it.
Okay, that's a little bit of an awkward draw. Crypt Lord is okay.
I'm looking at the next couple turns that are going to be really good here. I definitely think this is a Mark of Yasharaj turn for RDU, and then look for something better later on. The nature of Chakki's deck is that the 1 damage increments are quite difficult to deal on demand, and so as a result, having a 4/1 on board is about as good as it gets in terms of minion pressure.
And my problem is that RDU is going off the curve here, and utilizing every single mana crystal is so paramount in these aggressive matchups. You have to fight for every single piece of the board that you can. So if you can forego that, I'm not liking the Crypt Lord that much this turn, but it's mana efficient, and then it sets up for a Marker Yasharaj plus something else, or you can even use Savage Roar right there. And it doesn't seem like the Murloc can get past Crypt Lord, but you also give him a nice Blessing of Kings. So I like the Marker Yasharaj. It's just it really hurts to float 1 mana.
Blessing of Kings and Weapon are really the 2 that stand out to me, or even just like Call to Arms. I think Call to Arms is a lot weaker in this particular spot than it would be if you played the Crypt Lord. So I like this personally, and this is the turn where RDU finally gets to start pushing damage instead of worrying about board pressure.
Jeez, just awkwardness. The Murloc Tidecaller is just not able to get onto the board and establish any snowball with the Rockpool Hunter. And now he would love to keep that Murloc Tidecaller for Blessing of Kings, but then what does he do this turn?
Yeah, it's this battle got very tough, and RDU actually finding living mana is going to pretty much put Chakki at the desperate situation. His aggressive list isn't running Consecration. It's not running a bunch of big taunt minions to really recover from this spot. What you see is what you get with this deck. It wants to take the board early and keep it. He's drawn no corridor creepers. Bone Mare is very far off, and so at this stage, it is literally a matter, I think, of Chakki getting very strong call to arm outcomes to win this game.
Yeah, double 2 seems to be the best way, best course of action. Force your opponent to have the powerful turn 5 play, and RDU does.
Yeah, now trade-wise, I'm not quite convinced of RDU's trade value here. If it's better to actually use the 1 health minions and let the rock pool start running over stuff, or if it's better to soak it up with the Enchanted Raven and force worse trades for Chakki. Maybe it's as much as just clear the entire board.
What about killing the Dire Wolf with the 2 small tokens and then just going face for 4, playing living mana?
Well, the other option I'm looking at too is ways to use hero power, with like say the South Sea Captain or the Crypt Lord, and look for just an even bigger living mana. He doesn't necessarily have to play it this turn.
Okay.
And I think his draw potential is really what's going to weight the difference here.
I don't hate that.
I think I still like keeping the board clean.
Well, I
think
think
from there.
I think even if they have Blessing of Kings, they can't really punish you on 5 mana for anything significant, can they?
I think it would have to be like exactly Righteous Protector.
And Blessing of Kings?
Yeah.
Okay. But even then, they would have to have it in hand, so it's the same regardless. Chakki with no call to arms. I think call to arms would have been his biggest chance to fight back immediately. Now Murloc Tidecaller gets big, but Chakki doesn't have enough bodies to just trade, and he doesn't have the mana to play Bone Mirror, and I don't think he's playing Spike Ridge Steed.
No Spike Ridge Steed in the deck. It's really focused on making sure it has an early curve. And part of the reason of that is just how difficult these early situations are. If he missteps one spot in the early game, RDU runs away with the game. So this turn, RDU doesn't pick up anything to do.
Right.
And this could still be a turnaround. I think Chakki needs to draw almost exactly a weapon or call to arms, but it's not outside the realm of possibility.
Oh, yeah. And if it pulls a second Knife Juggler out as the first minion, we're ready to see some fireworks.
Yeah, this is a huge draw for Chakki. I mean, without this, I don't know if he gets there. Very bad juggle.
Okay. Good minion, though. Oh, man. Imagine if that was just a little bit different sequencing.
Yeah, and the trade here also pretty awkward for Chakki as well, because if he runs over a minion, it enables RDU Savage Roar.
But I think he's forced to.
I think so as well. I mean, you just leave this board presence here, you're down.
But Savage Roar stops 6 damage. But he's dead
it's still
from,
enough for lethal.
Yeah, he has 12
Just
anyways.
enough.
By the skin of his teeth.
Yeah. Now that being said, this is a matchup I think Chakki expects to lose. So from here,
Right.
it's a matter of how effectively can he fight the priest and the rogue from RDU.
But it just comes down to, man, Knife Juggler was a little bit earlier on the call to arms sequencing, and one of those 2-1 dies.
Oh, yeah.
Then Druid has to fight back. He lands the Bone Mirror. They can't win back the board, and then it's smooth sailing.
Yeah. If you reverse the order, there is a likelihood that he picks off something and actually wins the game.
I mean, it's a matchup you expect to lose. But if I expect to lose, I want to get blown out. I don't want to be given the chance to know that there's a possibility that I won. I want it to just be like they had Raza on 5, Anduin on 8, and they had every single removal piece. Because I'm just like, okay, I had no business winning that game. When it's like, oh, they just drew the Psychic Scream. They had like no cards in hand, and they had just enough damage for lethal. Oh, that triggers me so much.
In the Game of Thrones, Dan wants the quick, swift, sudden death.
Yes.
Yeah. Very honorable.
Yeah. Now, Chakki is going to turn to his Zoo Warlock. Now, this is going up against RDU's Priest.
Yeah, not banning Highlander Priest has been a very popular strategy thus far.
It's worked out
in this tournament.
for
Yeah,
a lot of people.
It has worked out a lot. And you take a look at RDU's list specifically, the real anti-aggro engine that he has is Wild Pyromancer, Tar Creeper, and then the natural strength of your removal. He does have Lyra over Gadgets and Auctioneer, which has been a choice that I've noticed many of the Europeans tend to favor. And it card happens to be just slightly better versus aggressive decks.
That's weird. Europeans relying on random cards.
I'll let Dan's statement stand alone on this one.
I think collectively they just all unfollowed me on Twitter.
Yeah, notice that Chakki actually kept Doomguard in his hand, though. It's actually quite an important card versus Highlander Priest because there's one Shadow Word Death, and it survives Dragonfire Potion. And the combination of those two things tends to make it a very powerful card in the matchup, and one that oftentimes is key to actually winning the game.
Well, you know what? I mean, the second Doomguard could also be seen as, hey, now I get to play 2 Doomguards a good amount of time.
Yeah, I don't think the second Doomguard in this particular matchup is that bad of a draw. And in a lot of spots, it's like your chance to draw Doomguard afterwards was 1 in X, where X is the number of cards left, and now his chance to have a second Doomguard is about 33%.
Well, I mean, yeah, there was 25 cards left. He probably would have drawn. They had 2 more turns, so 23 cards around.
Yeah.
Yeah, happens. But if you discard the other 2 cards, I mean, you got back-to-back Doomguards.
And the coin here actually quite a vital resource for RDU. He's going to trade it off in favor of card draw. And this is where things can get really scary for RDU. He's going to be drawing a lot of cards, but Darkshire Councilman looks like it's slated for this turn on Chakki's side, and that card can grow massive if you give them time. And that's part because the South Sea Captain package being added into every aggressive deck because of its power potential.
Yeah, Darkshire Councilman, South Sea Captain, Doomguard. That is intimidating force.
Yeah, and now the question here for Chakki is potentially trading. And I'm quite surprised that he's going this deep into the thought of it because some circumstances that could really punish him are like Wild Pyromancer turns or just Power Word Shield in general.
Yeah.
It's quite an interesting trade.
It's a painful trade, but I think one that's ultimately necessary too.
Also
Potion of
Potion.
Madness.
Yeah,
Potion of Madness would have been a huge thing too. You just don't want to give the ability to heal the Acolyte, draw more cards.
Yeah, Curious Glimmerroot, often going to come up quite empty-handed versus this deck. Nice pickup though, something for defense.
That silence could potentially be a huge difference maker. Back-to-back captains.
Yeah, Chakki looking like he's only going to get 1 Doomguard this game. I imagine captains certainly are in the forefront of his mind, and getting Corridor Creeper online, I think, is more of a priority for post-Dragonfire Potion.
Right.
But he may use it as a catalyst to Dragonfire Potion, maybe in combination with a Doomguard, and just try to look for 1 giant push. He may just ignore it altogether as well.
Slam it. Wow. Discard captain plus the other thing.
Psychic Scream also.
Yeah, you talk about cards that shut down board control decks. There's very few cards better than Psychic Scream. It probably is the best card.
It's so good. Like, putting minions back into your opponent's deck it's just awful for them a lot of times. That's the stage where they want to draw their most powerful cards. And when you shuffle a bunch of 2 and 3 drops back in, it really slows down the draw density.
Yeah. Just kind of imagine, how has no one thought of this before? The you versus the guy she tells you not to worry about meme? Like Recycle versus Psychic Scream. Recycle was 6 mana and targeted 1 minion.
Yeah.
Psychic Scream is just on another level.
Yeah, and RDU making wonderful use of his resources here. Being able to get value from Radiant Elemental is such a big deal in the matchup because when he's got Dragonfire and Psychic Scream, he's free to use these to force Chakki to play into them. And as he plays into those cards, it gets much more difficult for him to actually close this game. With the life totals the way they are, with the hands the way they are, I'm thinking Chakki's probably going to have to find a Blood Reaver Gul'dan to win.
Yeah, I was thinking, oh, jeez, Doomguard has so much potential for absolute tragedy for Chakki's side. Like, you lose the 1 mana Corridor Creeper, you lose your other Doomguard. That death pickup, too, from RDU.
Everything's coming up RDU right now. Still quite a bit to worry about.
Yeah, still can't answer the captain, but you got to think. Is Chakki just doomed from the start because Priest has so much removal?
Well, it is some coming up on some tough turns for RDU. He's failed to actually find any card draw or any of the most important cards in the deck.
Right.
So he's actually just going to opt to Dragonfire here and save death for a future Doomguard. I think this is quite smart from RDU to do this because one of the ways he actually loses the game is a Doomguard sticking. And do you want to have to Psychic Scream a Doomguard and then potentially open the floodgate? Wow.
Oh, my goodness. Bone Mare.
These are some big turns that are potentially coming up for Chakki now.
Yeah. I mean, Bone Mare's not necessarily a problematic card to shuffle back in either.
In fact, I think that's one of the few situations where Psychic Scream actually is a liability, is when you're shuffling back giant effects like Bone Mare. Yep. You're shuffling back Flame Imp, you're pretty happy about that one.
Shadowfish is normally a very nice card to have in the mid-stage of the game to pick the removal, but I think RDU's already either drawn or played some of the best removal tools that you'd want to discover off of Shadowvisions.
Dragonfire's gone, Psychic Scream's in hand, Death's in hand.
Right.
What does he actually
Potion
get?
is to be used. He sees...
Power Word Shield, maybe?
Yes, he had Spirit Lash, Circle of Healing, and with Circle of Healing, I think Alkanite Soul Priest.
Wow. And this turn from RDU just screams Psychic Scream. Like that is the number one card on Chakki's mind right now. And so the question is, how does he best set up against that effect?
It might be just Bone Mare. You're not really that upset of drawing Bone Mare right again, and then Corridor Creeper drawing for 7 is a little bit annoying though, right?
Yeah, I mean Corridor Creeper, Flame Imp, and Bone Mare, they end up being quite weak additions because Chakki's still got these 2 Doomguards floating around.
Yeah.
And again, he probably needs to find Blood Reaver Gul'dan this game. So the question is, how does he get past that hump most effectively?
Well, are you suggesting a Doomguard turn?
I don't think so. I think Doomguard is a quite liberal use of resources here.
Right.
I think the question for Chakki is just where is he placing the Bone Mare effect? You know, is it worth ever considering your opponent stabilizing to Anduin or Shadow Word Death stacking or something like that? But 4 free damage is about as good as it's going to get for Chakki's hand that turn.
Yeah, Chakki writing down Psychic Scream is something that he was factoring in. Now,
this is where things get interesting now because what Chakki wants to do is he wants to maximize his Doomguard potential.
Right.
So doesn't want to life tap. But he also doesn't want to draw Blood Reaver Gul'dan.
Right. He also does not want to disconnect. Okay. And doesn't matter because he was looking down anyways.
If Chakki life taps first, he's 50% to have 2 Doomguards.
Well,
if he doesn't, he's 33%.
Cobalt is the life tap itself.
Wow.
Wow! And the Bone Mare.
Big turn for Chakki.
Woo!
And RDU now is getting in some trouble. He quite literally might need to draw Shadow Reaper Anduin to win from this point. And that risk from Chakki really enabled this style of turn.
RDU sweating a little bit. Oh, Piece the Feast. Can help pull RDU's life total back.
So now Chakki doesn't draw Blood Reaver Gul'dan, but he is being pressured on life total.
Huh. And now he drew a fairly expensive card that's a little bit awkward, and no Bone Mare targets.
And the Priest of the Feast and Tar Creeper combination, it's not a joke at this point. And Chakki's looking elsewhere for plays now.
And a little bit too expensive again. Can't play Despicable Dreadlord with a cheap minion.
I'd actually think I'd be quite surprised to see Doomguard on this turn. But I don't know. I mean, there's Soulfires left in the deck, I believe. I mean, I'd be...
Yeah, Tar Creeper is kind of the same thing.
Yeah, 2 Soulfires left.
So if you play Tar Creeper, and that means no matter what you draw with your next turn, you're going to discard with Doomguard. This is your best chance.
Chakki's actually respecting the push potential quite a bit here with this play.
I think this just sets up the best use for Doomguard. You just place Tar Creeper, Bone Mare, and then Doomguard with whatever he draws in the next 2 turns. Chakki has Soulfire in his deck, right?
Yeah, it's 2 copies of Soulfire, still got the Blood Reaver Gul'dan, Crystal Weaver.
And here's like another weird thing about the situation. RDU can't heal with the Alkanite Soul Priest being such a high health total.
Yeah, and I think that's another thing for Chakki to think about is can I pressure RDU in a way that forces him to make some awkward plays?
Right.
And the answer to that was yes. RDU still has yet to find any real card draw effects.
Well, Priest of Feast is kind of a liability as long as the Alkanite Soul Priest is around. Like, if Priest of Feast has to bite the bullet in some scenario, not the case right now, but if he deals 3 damage to himself, Chakki has his Guard Soulfire lethal opportunity. Tar Creeper is going to put a wrench into things, but Priest of the Feast, the strongest minion, RDU not going to even acknowledge the Dreadlord.
And that is a suddenly alert for Chakki.
Dude.
Tar Creeper Bone Mare, I think, is all day here.
Yeah, but I'm going to look at the following turn, then Chakki has 9 from the hand, if he's able to survive. Because we know that RDU has a big clear.
Whoa.
Is this lethal, actually? Hold on.
5, 6, 7. No, it's not.
Dude, he's one. Yeah, if he could find a way to deal with the Tar Creeper, he actually would have the. He had the lethal. He's so close.
Goodness.
Tar Creeper being at 5 health is the difference maker. Or rather, RDU.
I mean, RDU
not checking the Super Dreadlord and saying Chakki does not have a second Bone Mare in hand.
He has to trade in the Priest of the Feast so as to not take damage from this circle of healing.
I like this cycle too. Try and draw closer to a way to win the game, because this is just not enough. Prophet Valen with Mind Blast.
Wow.
But if he pushes the damage. If he pushes the damage.
That Norshire Cleric is actually quite important here, because it sets up the Velen to be the one-shot with Mind Blast. And so RDU is feigning the thought here. He's going to trade.
Okay.
But he's feigning the thought here of pushing face to try to mask that he has the Prophet Velen Mind Blast, and Blood Reaver Gul'dan gets drawn! Are you kidding me, Dan? That is a huge draw!
We'll take it. I don't care if it was just nothing on the board. And
Chakki's seen Smite this game. He has nothing to fear.
It'd be Prophet Valen Mind. Even if he did have Smite, he'd be off, right? It'd be 14 plus 1. 15. I mean, he is a lethal either way. Doesn't even need to sweat it. No Shadow Reaper Anduin draw for RDU. That was his out. If he heals with Prophet Valen, that's not enough either, is it? Because then 9 plus a bite plus Doomguard.
Count 17 damage.
17.
Minimum
Unbelievable. 17. What a ridiculous game. Talk about squeezing your edges wherever you can. Chakki masterfully able to just barely navigate his way through the madness that is Priest removal with double Doomguard for the majority of the game.
It's insanity. I mean,
aggressive
decks they put Highlander Priest to the test, but Chakki still had to get a little bit lucky to win this game.
Well, I mean, even though he kept the Doomguard from the double discard, he still has the Soulfire as the 16 point of damage, so he didn't even need the second Doomguard. It's just that he had the option to do that. Yeah. So all things considering, things probably would have stayed the same, even if Chakki got unlucky on discard. But the Bone Mare draw number 2, and this Blood Reaver Gul'dan coming off the top.
Yeah, mind you, also
just
Chakki
enough
kept a Doomguard in his hand, and you saw the importance of Doomguard in the matchup in this game.
It's true.
Updates from around the horn. WTY Bill was able to take down Muzzy 3 games to 0.
Wow.
In their set. So WTY Bill and his
5-1.
What I would consider a slightly unconventional build for this tournament, performing extremely well at this point. He's a front runner of the pack.
I was saying that WTY Bill looks like a top 4 candidate right now in the middle of the tournament today. And now he's backing up. He's 5-1. If he wins one more series, he's guaranteed. Of course, we'll continue round 7 to 9 tomorrow here at twitch.tv/esports arena. And actually a couple of updates around the horn here. Odemian, Exodia Mage guy. It's a little bit rude, of course. That was just a nickname given by the other players around here, because instead of saying Odemian, you can just say the lineup that he's playing, which is he's the only guy playing Exodia Mage. He's up 2-1 over Zalay.
Wow. With a Quest Mage lineup, no less. I mean, maybe that Quest Mage is the last piece of that puzzle that he has to get through, so we'll see how that ends up going. But Chakki in the aggressive lineup is going to try to continue to keep that pressure on RDU. And, again, Priest is It's a very strong deck. It has the capability to beat anything, but I'll tell you what, it can struggle if you keep it under pressure the entire time.
Oh, yeah. Would you keep the War Leader at all?
I think I'm going for exactly Murloc Tidecaller and Call to Arms in this matchup, personally. You know, maybe there's some consideration for Knife Juggler as well.
Okay.
Just cards that really punish RDU for not checking them right away.
Yeah, this is completely my fault, so I apologize to the guy who did it. But there is a guy that wrote that made an infographic to Murloc Paladin Mulligans, and it was a really helpful infographic sheet that kind of shows you what you prioritize. It's not about you always keep XYZ. It's that what is your priority when you're keeping cards as an aggro paladin, and it was very well laid out. I don't remember his name, so I apologize for it. But when you're on the coin, things do change a lot. There's like a priority 2.5, and that's where Murloc War Leader or a few other cards would go in. Like it's like the equivalent of Rallying Blade and a few other cards.
Yeah, I'd say when you're playing Chum, that War Leader becomes a much more keepable card.
Yeah.
Speaking of keepable cards, these are a lot of them.
Yeah.
This is why Chakki full mulligan.
So, Knife Juggler is an investment of damage moving forward. It also
I don't think Rock Pool's getting
makes your
better than
opponents sweat too, but Rock Pool Hunter also is immediate damage as well.
I mean, Rock Pool is just so good.
Oh yeah, I like Rock Pool as well. But you gotta think, like, what other ways you can squeeze into extra damage?
And RDU hanging on to Blood Mage and Spirit Lash. Normally it's a great combo, but when your opponent's playing stuff above 2 health, you're looking at a ways off before utilizing that properly. And Circle of Healing is available in this Discovery for RDU, and with Auchenai in hand, I imagine that's got to be the card he's really thinking about. And once again, taking his time, trying to mask the idea that this is the powerful option he has. And as I say that, of course, also a little bit of an internet blip.
Deja vu.
He was taking his time, though.
Yeah. Definitely important to note.
Oh, baby.
That is quite the reload after an Alkanized Soul Priest Circle Healing.
Yeah, and that's really the big question for Chakki. How much is he willing to commit into that combo potentially? When your opponent's a Highlander deck, you tend to just ignore it and say, yeah, if he's got it, he's got it. The threat check is real. But he's got to worry about more than just Auchenai and Circle of Healing.
It's true. Shadow Visions increase that consistency a lot. So if you play Direwolf Alpha and it gets cleared, Corridor Creeper goes down, is reduced to 4. Call to Arms. Oh, okay. Let's hold that thought. Chakki's just going for it. Sticks a Righteous Protector onto the board.
Yeah, quite a nice outcome, I'd say, getting a Divine Shield minion, but this is still likely to be a hefty punish from RDU.
Well,
Corridor Creeper's really what's saving
yeah,
this.
it actually might make this okay, because if RDU does this Auchenai Soul Priest combo, Righteous Protector has an easy trade, and Corridor Creeper goes down to 2 mana?
It goes to 3
1 mana. 1 mana. Sorry, after the trade.
And it's Raza on deck right after that. This is also like a really weird, interesting spot as well. You know, maybe Chakki doesn't necessarily want to look for the Corridor Creeper this turn. You know, it's possible he tries to just invest and get some value.
Okay.
You know, thinking about the future minions now, he wants to be able to fight off against Raza very well. He wants to potentially be able to strengthen his position against, like Dragonfire Potion, for instance. So against Dragonfire Potion, you really want the Corridor Creeper, but against Raza, I think you'd rather have more minions.
Yeah, if you're anticipating a Raza come down on 5, or even like Priest of the Feast, things equivalent of that nature. Double minion seems a little bit better to use with the Rallying Blade. You're right. Looks like he's favoring the Corridor Creeper anyways.
It's more power. I like more power.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So once again, RDU he has a lot of answers to stuff, but he's really lacking the ability to find additional cards, dig into the deck for that Shadow Reaper Anduin.
Or they're not really doing much here. Although does make it interesting for how Chakki wants to plan out his meta for the future turn, because investment into hero power now is an investment for damage later on.
Yeah, this is also like another really interesting turn. So Chakki didn't get his corridor creeper answered, and Knife Juggler stuck around. Raza may not give Chakki a read at all in the hand, but this is generally the style of turn where you could see someone maybe turn the corner and start to pressure a lot.
Right. Well, we're almost for sure playing Rallying Blade this turn, right? Killing Raza. Or do you just ignore that?
Well, hero power's first, and so I'm curious how this is changing things. It looks like he wants to get Direwolf Alpha down and risk the Knife Juggler, and if not, just get the extra damage from Direwolf Alpha, pressing the issue.
Right, and then if your opponent does have the Dragonfire Potion, he has to toss his own Raza in. I think it's a little bit too risky.
Weird. So I can't quite understand the sequencing here if that's what Chakki lands on.
This is investment for Morlock War Leader next turn, like we were talking about.
Oh my gosh. Oh, the sequencing was quite literally just to hope that he gets an extra damage.
Yeah, he actually hoped
gotcha.
that he hit face in that scenario.
Okay, yeah. That makes sense. Oh my gosh, I just saw the Anduin draw. That's what you were oh my goshing about.
Yeah. Shadow Reaper Anduin comes to the hand for RDU, and he's got Psychic Scream for the next turn.
Yeah, that was probably the lights out draw.
I mean, Raza, Dragonfire Potion, Psychic Scream, Anduin, that's kind of the dream for the Priest at this point. They've covered all their weak spots.
Ooh.
Or have they? Yeah.
Psychic Scream's just so good.
Well, what's so funny is that you don't actually want a hero power and extend too much into the board because of Psychic Scream. You might want to just play Gentle Megasaur on one minion instead. Instead of hero powering and playing Gentle Megasaur or Direwolf Alpha, you might want to just play Megasaur for pressure.
Yeah, I would think at this spot that playing around Psychic Scream is, on Chakki's mind. But how would you play around it?
Just play Megasaur straight up.
Enough to present a threat to your opponent, but at the same time have follow up. And so I think I like the follow up of the War Leader Megasaur a little bit more.
Okay. Reasonable. I mean, he also could just have Dragonfire Potion as well. It's not even just Psychic Scream.
Oh, yeah.
But to play around the Scream, you wouldn't hero power, but that is also slightly unreasonable, like you mentioned, because you're giving up percentages.
Yeah. Yeah, no question about that one.
If I'm Chakki, I want to adapt to Murloc Warrior with Can't Be Targeted. Ooh. Got some confirmation that Exodia Mage guy, Odemian, hailing from the French community, just drops Soleil and now improves to 4-2. I want to see him in top 4, man. I want to see WTY Bill, Odemian, one from the Muzzy Chakki Amnesiac group, and I guess who else is in the top there? I guess just Muzzy and Chakki. RDU, yeah.
I actually
that's a good representation from all camps.
I queued into a demon the other day on ladder, and I was playing with a friend of mine, and he goes, I mean, I don't know who this guy is. He might not be that good. And I was like, no, he's pretty good. And he played turn 1 Jungle Giants on us and proceeded to smash us very quickly afterwards with some fantastic play. Chakki's still going to take it slow, fully play around the idea of Shadow Reaper Anduin.
Yeah, force him to only kill off this small little token.
Oh, this also sets up like a sneaky potential lethal here for Chakki sometimes, where if the Gentle Megasaur, say, landed Wind Fury in this spot, maybe RDU just dies.
True. And now, Big Daddy Bone Mare. Oh, like you mentioned.
Wow. I'm doing those things. I'm casting that Blessing of Kings, I'm casting that Gentle Megasaur, and I'm going to hope that I find Wind Fury.
Well, he's used Psychic Scream and Shadow Reaper Anduin. Those are the two best ways to deal with it. Silence
and Shadow Word Death are possibilities.
Yeah. Dragonfire Potion also can clear it. Just Dragonfire Potion Hero Power just clears it.
Yeah, I wonder if...
Bone Mare's getting hard to turn down, man.
I wonder if Dragonfire is really in RDU's range, actually, at this point. You know, Chakki on turn 6 saw Hero Power pass, basically.
True. That is true. Attack first in case he needs to stealth it.
Yeah.
Perfect sequencing.
Very wise. Look at that. Look at that. And that actually sets Chakki up to bone mare
with
the Murloc War Leader afterwards.
But he's going to be 1 damage off, or 2 damage off if this 5-4 gets cleared. But the Binding Heal actually should have arranged that. And then RDU has Priest of the Feast.
Very smart sequencing on Chakki's part. Because if you attack first, there's no detriment. The only time you would ever be at a detriment then is if all your options were damage, which that basically can't be the case.
Right. If it's +3 attack, +1/+1, and...
like poisonous or something like that.
Yeah.
It's a very rare outcome.
RDU's sweating a little bit. I think he knows the Bone Bear is coming. He's taking 11 next turn. Priest of the Feast can get in the way of stuff, though. Here's another possibility. RDU picks up Prophet Valen in the next 2 cards. He could reasonably set up lethal.
That is a lot of card draw that RDU's got coming. And he's got the damage turning, and he's got a very priority minion on board for Chakki to kill right now.
Yeah.
And guess what? He just gained 8 health. So, Antique Heal Priest is very real right now. I think Chakki might have just gotten pushed out of this game.
So, I guess in this situation, if you want to kill Priest of the Feast, then we Bone Mare a little Murloc token instead.
I want to say I'm still full steam ahead. Because
And
an
for
11-11 taunt is very large.
Yeah.
And from Chakki's perspective, what are these cards on the left side that RDU's been hanging on to the entire game?
Ooh,
11's a lot, Dan.
I don't know. Priest of the Feast, Spirit Lash, Blood Mage Thanos, all these combinations. Priest is going to heal up to practically full.
I think from Chakki's perspective, this is likely a necessary risk, and
Yeah.
RDU's just got a good punish.
It's 12 health.
Let's make that 14.
That's actually a clear board as well.
Shadow Reaper Anduin's pretty good, isn't he?
Oh, gosh. Oh, my gosh. This is ridiculous.
This is just stupid.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay. Well, Chakki still has some game, surprisingly.
Does he? He's pretty dead.
Yeah, yeah, of course. But he's got Quarter Creeper.
RDU's got Lyra. This is like that scene in Avengers where they're talking about the army, and then Iron Man just looks up and he goes, "We have a Hulk." Like, this is what the Hulk does. He just beats you up, and you die.
RDU's so confident in what he has that he can just kind of push for the lethal, and he's got it. 2-1 in favor of RDU. 1 game away from locking up day 1 in prime position to advance to the top 4. As
it's a big win for Priest.
Yeah, that's a big win for the Priest, and looks like Chakki has to go back to the drawing board for another game. RDU only has Rogue remaining.
I will say that the way that Chakki's aggro paladin deck is built, it is, I would say, considerably better versus Rogue than some of the traditional Murloc paladins that just they rely on early synergy 100% to get the job done. Chakki's just got a lot more ways to do that. You know, from threats with Knife Juggler to just Divine Shield guys plus Direwolf Alpha to threat advantage. There are a number of ways for him to actually snag that, but either way you slice it, I think this is still a pretty tough matchup for Chakki. That.
Chakki is going to keep this Quarter Creeper? I mean, it's something you always think about going first, because Quarter Creeper does take up some real estate in your hand, but you also would like to have that 1 drop. Yeah. So it's just it's such a hard thing to weigh. Keeps the Rockpool Hunter as well.
Yeah, I'm definitely keeping Quarter
Creeper.
Wow. I'm definitely keeping Corridor Creeper here.
Why not?
That card is absolutely bonkers. Double Rock Pool. Oh my gosh. This is just nuts. It just doesn't get much better than this.
Yeah, you know, world champions are often defined by how good their one-mana plays are. Undertaker, Mana Worms, Babbling Books. I mean, this is as good as it gets.
I can't.
Do you miss Tunnel Trog and Totem Golem?
No, I don't. I hated those cards. I like aggro, and I didn't like those cards.
I don't know. For some reason, I thought you did like it.
I just like aggro decks, but I did not like Tunnel Trog Totem Golem. I do like Tunnel Trog, but Totem Golem, I think, being coupled with him left me with a sour taste. I hate that guy.
Isn't it so, like, kind of mind-boggling that it took a little time for that to even be good? Because there's just so many better things.
Oh, shit, with
Tunnel Trog and, Minibot, Muster for Battle.
Whoa.
But even then, there was, like,
Zombie Chow was the thing, too.
No, I mean, Druid was really good back then with Combo Druid.
Oh, yeah.
Patron Warrior, Handlock, Secret Paladin.
You just named my lineup.
Dude, Zombie Chow into the Secret Paladin stuff was just nuts.
Wow, RDU passes on turn 1, and this is going to get ugly.
Yeah, this is pretty much as good as it gets. The difference between not having that one-mana play and having it is a monumental swing.
RDU would have had 3 power on board. Instead, he's got nothing.
I mean, every class I feel like has an iconic duo. You talk about like Mana Worm, Arcanologist, Tunnel Trog, Totem Golem, Minibot, Muster for Battle.
Yeah, Patches and a Pirate.
Patch. And in this case, Paladin's 1-2 punch is exactly this. What on earth? Paladin's going to have 5 minions on board.
Hey, Bungle in the Jungle. That's actually one of my favorite cards, I think, from like any of the sets in the last 4 is just
Lost in Jungle?
Yeah. I don't know. I just like calling it Bungle in the Jungle.
I like that it's a good theme, because even if you're lost in the middle of the wilderness, it's always good to have a buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah. The idea is buddy system works. Use it.
Yeah, rock pools.
They've certainly learned it. I'm looking at Dr. One. You just placed the rock pool on the side.
It's about future Direwolf positioning is what this is.
Yes, exactly. I just wanted the Dr. Boom positioning for the nostalgia.
Well, yeah, it's the Vilefin Inquisitor, and he summons his rock pools and his silver hands.
Yeah.
The Vilefin's the leader in this situation. None of this would be happening without Vilefin. And RDU's looking at this and going, what happened?
Yeah, his hand looked pretty good, by all means. He had, like, the coin, SF7 agent, Van Cleef, Corridor Creeper.
Oh, by the way, this is fueling Chakki's Corridor Creeper as well.
Yeah, it actually gives him the first Creeper. And I believe he who creeps first wins.
Oh, yeah.
Is that how the old adage goes?
Yeah, that saying. I remember it. It's a classic.
Actually, the 6/6 Van Cleef is...
it's on trade duty, and that's not where that card wants to be.
It's quite the annoying card, though.
Oh, that's a clever trade there.
Yeah, I like that.
That is very smart. I wouldn't have done that. I would have instantly played Corridor Creeper. Ooh.
So RDU has a free Corridor Creeper this turn with his own Serenite Chain Gang.
Yeah, this is quite an interesting spot here, and the Dagger actually playing a big role of shutting down the 1/1 in this spot. You know, from RDU's perspective, maybe this is just a direct trade with Edwin Van Cleef.
You can also just play Corridor Creeper SI. Okay, I like this better. Yeah, I explore other plays, but I think this, everything comes up as this. Oh, man.
Wow, this is so sick.
He needs a Knife Juggler, or he needs...
He wants
Patches?
2 Righteous Protectors.
Jugglers and Righteous Protector?
Juggler, Protector is pretty good.
probably the best scenario. Ooh.
Direwolf, that's not the right spot.
Well, I don't think it would have mattered. His quarter creeper positioning also opened himself up to that possibility, I guess. That's only if he got it off Call of Arms.
Oh, that's a good point. That actually is a slight mistake there from Chakki.
Yep.
A very rare mechanical mistake, mind you, as well. That's something he's usually very mindful of.
Yep. Didn't end up punishing him anyways, but could have. The Tidecaller interaction with Call to Arms still doesn't make sense with Knife Juggler.
I don't get it.
Because the Tidecaller gets the buff from the Murloc even if it's afterwards, but the Knife Juggler does not get the activation. This is where RDU cements his lead.
I think he actually just completely turned this game around.
I mean, I said I really liked RDU's hand, and now you see why. Even though Paladin got the best start it could possibly ask for with the 1-2, and the 3 was really good too.
Smart cleanup work too.
Yeah, playing around Tarim. Chakki's got no choice but to Tarim, I think. Actually, yes.
I don't know. Lost in the Jungle.
Sunkeeper Tarim is pretty good.
He would have. He'd only have 4 minions. He would lose his whole board. I think this is probably Tarim trade.
That doesn't even guarantee you a Bone Mare though next turn.
What does?
Attacking face.
Sure. This actually makes a lot more sense than trading a minion because
right. He has to dagger them.
Yeah, because the
the
dagger potential.
Oh my
spine
goodness!
That's just disgusting.
Yeah, lock it up. Rogue has turned the corner completely. Chakki has no Bone Mirror opportunity. And this Murloc Paladin, which seemed to do okay, is now floundering.
That is a sick draw. RDU deserves one eventually, though. You know, I look back to like spring champs where he's playing against Kalento.
Kalento was 90% favored.
He had to draw preparation on the very last turn of the game, or RDU goes to the World Championships. And TJ just looks at me and he goes, he's going to draw preparation. And I was like, no, he's not. And he just draws preparation. And I was like, I can't believe it.
Yeah.
TJ wasn't even surprised.
Well, TJ wrote the script last time I checked. That's actually what Blizzard hired him for, as a scriptwriter for HCT.
That makes a lot of sense. He tells good stories.
I'm not even being ironic. That's actually in his job description. Complete due diligence, shutting down Bone Mirror. RDU has done every single thing correctly within his power, and you can't even be mad. That's going to be a 3-1 win. RDU, one of the 3 Europeans to come to NA soil, will end the day 5-1 in dominant fashion.